Hey guys, your guy John coming at you with another Diablo 4 video. All right, on this one, I want to go ahead and I want to address the simple question of what kind of players is Diablo 4 going to actually be for? The reason why I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit more is because after my last video where I was kind of like talking about how this is going to kill the game for the casual player, a lot of people kind of responded, and it seemed like people have mixed understanding of what I view as casual players versus everyone else, and also on kind of like what makes this type of a game, like what to expect with this type of a game, right? Like we're talking about an ARPG game in general, but there's a lot of them out there. It's not like Diablo 4 is the first of the franchise or the genre. It's actually competing against some bigger conglomerates almost. So I think we need to kind of discuss this a little bit so that way people maybe can manage their expectations just a little bit more better and come kind of down more to like reality of like, hey, this is what actually is going to happen and how this is going to work out. All right, so I know a lot of you guys out there, especially if you're watching my channel, you are automatically already a Diablo player. Especially those who've already subscribed, right? Those of you who aren't, let's say those of you who are kind of discovering my content just organically on searching around, kind of trying to get more information. What should you expect from Diablo 4? Okay, so we played the beta, right? We played the beta, almost everyone got to play it. It was actually the most popular thing. I loved how they did it. They did a great job with it, in my opinion. It was pretty good. Obviously, we were playing on probably an older build significantly. It makes sense. I work in the software industry, so that's exactly what I would do as well. Obviously, we've heard more rumors and more talk of like how the reset dungeon button is going to get disabled. That was a big topic of my last video about how Diablo's going to kind of kill it for the casual gamer. And people were like, well, John, like, I don't know, casual gamer just going to log in, kind of do their thing. Like, they're not going to care about the reset dungeon, or they can just wait 2 to 3 minutes, or they can go teleport out and teleport in. I guess that is, sure, yeah, but not really. Like, are you going to wait 2 to 3 minutes? I don't know, like, in what world you're going to actually wait 2 to 3 minutes for the dungeon to respawn. Like, I understand, like, you think mentally, like, oh, it's no big deal, it's whatever. It takes you about 20 to 30 seconds to go to town, empty your bags, and go back. You're in a party. So you're just going to stand around for a minute and a half? And like, no one's going to do that. Like, that's going to kill the game, right? Like, that slows it. Like, people who play ARPG games are used to, like, the floor is lava. So you constantly go. If you don't have a whole lot of time, you're just constantly doing something. And we know gear-wise, we're going to need to refarm dungeons often. And they went ahead and upped the dungeon events, right? So that makes it more advantageous for us to farm dungeons. So the fact that they buffed dungeons and then nerfed the reset is actually a negative, right? Like, sure, if you are a solo player and you're not worried about the gameplay mechanics, yeah, you can teleport out. I believe if you teleport out, leave game, coming back into game, the dungeon will automatically reset. So I guess that's kind of like a way to reset it. I don't know that actually just teleporting out and then teleporting back in reset the dungeon. I remember trying that solo and it didn't work, but I don't know. That was also beta, so it's kind of all speculation in my opinion because I haven't seen anyone's actual video of them doing it. So I'm not entirely sure about that one. But the simple fact is, like, understanding and managing expectations of what Diablo 4 is really going to have in it, right? Like, this isn't Diablo Immortal, so we're not going to have an open world Paragon level keeps going and then everyone kind of closes the gap in between and resonance is a thing like in Diablo Immortal. This is going to be more of a casual game that the end game honestly isn't really. It's not like Path of Exile, right? Where you have an in-game boss that you're going to map to and you're going to try to beat, like the Uber Elders and doing Sirius and everything, right? That and Maven, right? Like, you're not going to have that type of objective on Diablo 4. So this game isn't going to be for you if you're an objective type player, okay? Now, if you are a grinder, Diablo 4 is going to probably be for you. And they've already announced that, like, they have a system in place that's going to take what was it, like a rough estimate of about 100 hours to get the like god tier pieces of gear, max out your character. Like, there's a lot of work that's going to go into things, right? Now, the takeaway from that is this is great, right? We want to have that grinding, something that keeps you engaged. Because what's the number one problem with Diablo 3? Simple problem with Diablo 3 is the simple fact that there is no end game. Diablo 3, you play for a few hours, you get your build, you power level someone through in 15 minutes. Like, there's no depth to the game, right? Other than grinding for good gear, which don't get me wrong, like I'm never going to discredit that. So if you're watching my channel and throughout the video, I'm like, well, he just doesn't understand. Like, I'm never going to discredit the grind. Trust me, I'm a gacha player. I'm an ARPG player. I understand all about the grind. Like that's what I enjoy about these types of games. The problem is I'm also very objective oriented as well. Like, obviously, if I can have an objective to play it, I'm going to have more incentive. Games like Last Epoch, games like Path of Exile, they have an objective at the end. They have a drive. You're going to try to achieve that goal, and it's going to be clear, right? It's not like Diablo 4 where you're not going to necessarily have a goal. Your goal is to get the best build, get as high as you can, play all the dungeons. There's no final boss to beat. There's no replayability for any of that. It's legitimately how good of a build can you get, how much max stats can you get, how powerful can you become, and that's it. However, there's some mechanics with Diablo 4 that I think are going to be really good, right? Like, first and foremost, the simple fact that no matter what your level is and you're in a party playing with other people, when you damage open world monster or a monster in general, it does a percent damage of the health, right? So everything will scale. So if you're level 50 and you're fighting a level 50 monster, it's going to scale. However, if you're level 22 fighting the level 22 monster next to the level 50, it's still going to scale. However, it's going to take away the percent of. So you can actually not power boost, so to speak, and you can actually play together like cohesively, right? So not one person is going to like slow you down and keep you from progressing, unless they're in that maybe that awkward stage of like getting the right skills, getting the right gear, so on and so forth. Obviously, there's nothing that can be helped with that. However, they implemented that in the game. That's a new change, which is great, right? Like Diablo 3, they probably did it to curb that, where you would just simply teleport to the open world, someone runs in, kills a few things, and boom, you're max level, right? So I love that the fact that they put that out there. That's going to be something that's different from all the other AARPG games out there. So definitely keep that kind of mentality, like, okay, they are doing something a little different. They're also doing a lot of adjustments and a lot of balances before the launch of the game. So they're listening to a lot of our feedback. Once again, that's something different that a lot of other games aren't doing. It took a massive outcry in the Last Epoch community to get them to implement trading, because originally they weren't going to, and enough people complained that they actually changed it. And that game hasn't even launched globally yet. However, when you start thinking and diving into, okay, what are the top rated ARPG games out there on the market right now? Diablo 4, Path of Exile, Last Epoch, that's honestly, I'm gonna kind of just call it good there. Like, as far as relevant ones, D3 still very popular. D2, man, the general population that still plays D2 is insane in my opinion, especially for how old that game is. But it's different. It's so much different than D3. I guess we can't really discredit it. So those are still going to be valid games. However, I do feel like when D4 launches, that populace is going to go down. I do feel like D4 encompasses enough of the aspects that's going to bring the D2 players and the D3 players together for D4. And you guys may be in a little bit of a lull and a little bit of a, I don't know how I feel about this, but I think overall it's going to be a good positive thing. So really, you only have 3 major games. And when we look at the 3 major ARPGs for, we'll say for 2023, they're all slightly different. They all have a different nuance, right? So Path of Exile, that's your hardcore gamer. That's your, oh my God, I want all customization. I want to have complete and utter control of my build and objective, and I want to go beat all the bosses, right? Like, there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of convolution into the game that just makes it harder for new players, right? So a casual type player who can only play for a few hours a day, kind of just wants to go in, kill things, just have a process for a couple hours to kill some time because they're bored or they just want to decompress and just kill things, right? Like, that's totally a viable thing after a long day of work. Path of Exile isn't really for casual gamers. It's more for your hardcore gamers, people who are really into it, incentivized, love currency, love trading. That's kind of where Path of Exile lays. Like, that's their realm, and it's going to kind of be kind of niche. Like, I don't see a lot of Path of Exile players going to play Diablo 4 because they're not going to care. Quite frankly, they're not going to care about Diablo 4. They're going to play it in between seasons, maybe in between leagues. Who knows? And then there's Last Epoch. Last Epoch has a very different skill system, similar mapping to Path of Exile, and the end game is a little different, right? So, but there is kind of more of an in-depth end game. Crafting is a little bit more in depth. There is going to be some generalized trading now that's been announced. Overall, still Path of Exile is like the most complicated, and then I would say like if you were to put them in order, Last Epoch's going to be the next one. Okay, a lot more depth to the game, a lot more options than Diablo 4 is going to have. However, once again, it's not as polished either. Like Last Epoch is a lot slower. There's not as many movement skills. There's you're not going to zoom around. You're going to do full clears of maps, so to speak, in Last Epoch. And that's another aspect that a lot of people aren't going to really enjoy, right? Like people who play ARPGs, you're going to want to be able to go zoom. If you're going to want to get zooming builds, speed builds. Obviously, we saw it with the Rogue and the Diablo 4 beta. That was the #1 build, was the speed meta build with the Rogue, right? So those types of things aren't going to be available with Last Epoch. However, on Diablo 4, now we're getting into the, I wouldn't say the bottom one, but I would definitely say the least complicated one, right? Like when we look at Diablo 4, it's the least cumbersome. There's not as much customization that goes into it. Obviously, yes, there's affixes, there's the codex, there's stats, but they're, at the end of the day, it's not as in depth. Now they have raised the complexity from D3, which I feel is astronomically like a good thing. Especially with like the Paragon tree, that looks very intricate, very interesting. I'm really excited for that aspect of getting to play that when the game launches. But overall, in general, Diablo 4 is geared more towards the casual player. So like I said at the very beginning about like managing your expectations, Diablo 4 is built for casuals. It's not really built for the hardcore in-depth gamers, right? So if you're a grinder who maybe just doesn't want to, like you've thought all day, you don't want to come home and think more, Diablo 4 is for you. Like that's 100% a no-brainer. Myself, I kind of fall into that category as well. And don't get me wrong, I'll never stop playing Path of Exile for season launch because I just enjoy it. It's a good game. However, D4, I'm excited for because it is going to be casual. It's going to be nice for me to make content on a game where I'm not like constantly just breaking my brain trying to think, oh, well, how could I tweak this, twist this, and this? Because it's not going to have that much depth. Now, it's still going to have a significant amount because of the way the codexes are set up, the way the stats are set up. Like, it's not going to be a baseless game. It's not going to be like Diablo 3. It's going to be more in depth. But the simple thing is it's more casual oriented. It's going to be more for players who are going to play for just a few hours and go into it, right? And I think that's where the disconnect came from with kind of some of their updates is they're making slight tweaks to the game, but in my opinion, they're kind of alienating the populace a little bit. So definitely manage your expectations. When the game launches, you could call it right now, clip this if you want. I don't think Diablo 4 is going to be the same game that it is as of right now in the next 6 months. I think a lot of aspects are going to change once the game launches. I feel like it's going to have a very successful launch, and then it's going to have an immediate lull until they do a little bit of change. But you definitely want to manage your expectations. You don't want to come into Diablo 4 thinking, oh, this is going to be the end all be all. It's a $70 game. So it is a purchase that you guys need to kind of think about before making that purchase, right? Last Epoch is a $40 game. Path of Exile is free. Diablo 4 is going to be the third top tier ARPG in the market. And it's going to come in at a steep price of $70 for the base model. And then like basically $100 for the good one, for those of you who are trying to pre-buy it, right? So that does come at a cost. So definitely don't get the game and go, yeah, this is it. This is going to be the end all be all. Keep your expectations kind of level, right? No, going into it, we have some issues that they're going to try to address. They also have a lot of strengths that a lot of others games don't have that we're going to get to enjoy. And I think that's going to be the biggest takeaway here. I know some people may watch my content and go, oh, well, you're negative or clickbait, whatever. I don't care. I'm not ever trying to clickbait anything. If you see a title of my video, I'm going to address the title. Like that's how I got the title, right? It's never clickbait. I'm never going to just lure you into something and then switch to another topic. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not my style. However, if you feel like it's something that's clickbait, then it is. I'm sorry you don't understand things from my perspective, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and kind of understood a little bit of the differences between all the ARPGs and kind of what to expect with Diablo 4. Let me know down below if I explained that well. If not, maybe I'll write something out a little bit more. Like maybe I'll make a bullet point that's like, hey, Path of Exile does this, Last Epoch does this, Diablo 4 does this. Just that way everyone knows how to kind of what to expect and how to manage their expectations. Also, real quick, guys, if you guys have not already went to aftershockunited.gg, go check it out. There's a games tab on the far right. go down to the Diablo section. I have all the information for Diablo 4 in there. I'm constantly updating it with articles about different topics in the game, stats. We're gonna have the wiki page fully developed and brought up. I have a resource page that you'll be able to just tab through to go to whatever you need to do. As we figure out builds, they're all gonna go right in a set list for you guys. All builds, I don't care. Like, we're not gonna talk about just meta builds. We're gonna have literally all builds that are common or that work well and synergize, they harmonize well. We're gonna have them on there because we're not gonna alienate anything. Like, oh, it's not gonna be just about all the meta, right? We're gonna have fun with it. Like, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, you just wanna have fun. That's it. That's all you wanna do. Yeah, some of you wanna compete, some of you guys wanna do X, Y, Z, but you know what? At the end of the day, as long as we have fun, who cares? We're playing a video game. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.